Hi boys and girls, welcome to the second week of Cumberland at Home Summer Edition. My name is Mrs. Driggers and I am so excited to be working with you this week on math. This week we're going to continue to represent and solve math problems involving addition and subtraction. Today we're going to use subtraction as an unknown add-in problem. Before we begin, let's review some of the skills that we learned last week. Okay, boys and girls, last week we spent quite a bit of time talking about numbers. We talked about what numbers mean, their relationships to one another. We talked about what it means to compare numbers, right? We looked at the different values of each of the numbers that we had built, and we decided if those numbers were less than the other or greater than the other, okay? We also talked about composing numbers. So we combined different parts or different numbers together to equal a sum or a total. We also started with a whole number and we learned about breaking it apart into two separate parts. That was called decomposing. We were breaking apart the whole number into smaller parts. As we continue to build on our addition and subtraction skills, we started to talk a little bit about the commutative property. We learned that it did not matter the order in which we added our two parts together. We were always going to equal the same number, the same whole. Then remember, on Friday, we used the associative property to add numbers in any order. We were building the number 10, but we did not limit ourselves to using the different combinations of parts to make 10. We allowed ourselves to use as many numbers that we could combine together and join together to make the value of 10. So we had applied our understanding of the associative property to show that those relationships between numbers and how to make 10. As we continue to make sense of what numbers mean and their relationships to one another, we want to represent and solve problems involving addition and subtraction. So to review, I have three numbers here. I have 1, 3, and 4. These three numbers have a relationship. They are related to each other. Just like you are related to your family members, these numbers are related to each other. And that is called a fact family. A fact family is a group of math facts using the same numbers. If you notice here on the right-hand side, there are 4 equations. Okay, there are 2 addition equations and 2 subtraction equations. Okay, what you might notice in all 4 of these equations is that they use the same 3 numbers. So let's build a fact family using 1, 3, and 4. If I want to bring 2 numbers together to make a total, I could do 1 plus 3 equals 4. We learned and talked last week about the commutative property, and just to review, it says if you know that 1 and 3 equal 4, then I can flip my parts around and I know that 3 plus 1 equals 4. Then, if I wanted to subtract, take away from another, I would want to start with my whole number. when I'm starting with my whole number, I want to think of it as subtraction and takeaway, but also think about it as decomposing. You're starting with the whole, the total, and you're taking apart or taking away a part of it. So I could start with the whole of 4 and take away 3, and that will equal or be the same as 1. Same thing if I started with 4 and I took away 1, I would be left with 3. Okay, so that's what's called a fact family. Okay, there is a very distinct relationship between these 3 numbers. But what happens when I don't know what that number is? Let me read this equation. 1 plus something equals 4. When I don't know what this number is or this value is, that is called an unknown number. An unknown number is a number that we do not yet know the value. Now, it's really important to understand that numbers have a relationship with other numbers. Okay, just like you can add something to the number 1 to make and be the same value as 4, you can use the opposite of addition and you can subtract to find that missing number. So for example, if I were to subtract, what I'm going to want to do is I'm going to start with my whole number and I want to take away the part that I know. Okay, so I might use my 10 frame. Start with my 4 and take away 1, and that's going to equal 1, 2, 3. Last week we played the game Flip Over 7. We used the 7 cards that were in front of us and we looked for combinations of numbers that made 10. We also looked for more than 2 numbers that could be added or joined together to make 10. Today, our focus is to understand how subtraction is the same as an unknown add-in equation. Once I have all of my cards flipped over, Mrs. Driggers likes to put her cards in order to help her see the values a little bit easier. So I'm going to start, remember your aces are 1s, I'm going to start with 1, I have another 1, 2, I see a 4 comes after 2, but before 6. So I'm going to stick that right here. 8 and 9. Okay, so when you're thinking about subtraction as an unknown add-in, think about if I looked at this card right here. This ace has a value of 1. If I think to myself, 1 plus something, that's what I might say if I don't know what the value of the other number is, equals 10. 1 plus something equals 10. This is how I might write my equation, my unknown add-in equation. 1 plus something equals 10. Well, To find this missing number, this unknown number, I know that I can start with my whole number and I can take away or subtract the one, the part that I know, to figure out what this missing number is. So I might use my tens frame strategy, and I'm going to build 10 on my 10 frame. One, two, three, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so I'm starting with my 10 and I'm taking away the 1 that I know. So here's me taking my 1 away, and whatever's left is what that missing or unknown number is. So let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I'm looking for a 9 to add to 1 which I have right here, to equal, let me slide this down just a smidge. I'm going to add 9 to my 1 to equal 10. Since I used 2 of my cards, I need to replace those 2 cards with 2 more. So I'll take my deck of cards and I'll take the top 2 cards, and put them in my row. So I have another 4 and another 6. Okay. Now, clear my board. Now, if I choose to pick a 4, okay, 4 plus something, and I'm going to put a little question mark here because I'm not quite sure what I'm adding to 4 yet to make 10. All right, so this is my unknown add-in equation. 4 plus something, we're not sure, the question mark saying I don't know what the value is, equals 10. So I can solve for this unknown number by using subtraction. When I subtract, I want to start with my whole number, my total number, and I'm going to decompose, break apart, separate the part I know. So I'm going to build again. I'm going to build my 10 on my 10 frame. This time I'm going to use some erasers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, there's my 10, which is my total number, my whole number, and I'm going to take away the part that I know. I know that I have 4, and I need to add something to 4 to make 10. So I'm going to take away 1, oops, I'll start up here. 1, 2, 3, 4, And that leaves me with, count with me, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm looking for the value of 6. So when I look at my numbers, I have 1, 2, 4, 6, 6, 8. I do have the 6 that I can add to 4 to make or equal 10. Now I also notice in my flip over 7, I have another combination of a 4 and a 6. So I'm going to take them out as well. Now I just removed 4 cards from my 7, so I need to replace them. 2, 3, 9, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I need one more. And 7. All right. All right, so now I have the numbers 1, 2, 2, 3, 7, 8, 9. This time I'm going to choose 8. 8 plus something equals 10. Off the top of my brain, I don't know what value or what number I need to combine or add to 8 to equal 10, but I do know that I can start with 10 and subtract 8 to find that missing value. So I'll go ahead and build my 10. Now that I have my 10 built on my 10 frame, I'm starting with that whole number because I'm going to use subtraction to help solve for my unknown number. So 10 minus the part I know, which is 8. I'm going to take away the 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and I'm left with 1, 2. So I need to add 2 to the number 8 to make 10. All right, the next one I want you to do with me. All right? So I'm going to replace my 2 cards. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 9. Okay? Now, we're going to start with 3. 3 plus something equals 10. Repeat that with me. 3 plus something equals 10. Okay, when we don't know what we're adding to 3 to make 10, we can use the opposite of addition, which is very good, subtraction, to equal that number. So I'm actually flipping around just like I showed you with the fact family. I'm going to start with 10. I'm going to take away 3, and that's going to equal my unknown number. All right, so you go ahead, build 10 using your math manipulatives. You might have coins in your learning kit. You might be using little Lego pieces, little pieces of pasta. You might be using little erasers. Whatever you're using to help you count and add, I want you to build the whole number of 10. Okay, if you have finished, double check by counting your counters. Just to double check you have all 10 there. All right, so now our original equation was 3 plus something equals 10. We have switched our equation to use subtraction to help us solve for that unknown number. So we're starting with 10 and we're taking away 3. So go ahead now with your 10 counters, take away 3 of them. One, 2, 3. What is left is our unknown number. So go ahead and count. Let's see if we got the same number. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Did you get 7? Awesome. So 7 is our unknown number. All right, so our equation 10 minus 3 equals 7 can also be written as 3 plus 7 equals 10. All right, do you see how we're using subtraction to help us find those unknown numbers? When we don't know what that part is or we don't know what that value is, we can use the strategy subtraction to help us find what number, what value we need to add together to this number to equal or be the same as 10. I need to make sure I have 7 cards here, so I'm going to add 2 more cards to equal my 7. 1, 2. Okay, so 7 comes before 9. And then I flipped over a 10. Now, because we're trying to make 10, I can remove this card and replace it with another one. All right. Now, what happens if I start with an unknown number and I add to that number four? Okay, say I start with that unknown number and I'm adding or joining 4 more to make 10. Okay, let's see. What do we know? We know that we can use subtraction to help us find the unknown number. So, if I wanted to flip this around, something equals or something is the same as 10, because that's my whole number, minus 4. All right. Now, do you notice this equation looks a little different? Remember last week we talked about your equal sign can be on either side of an equation, because the equal sign doesn't mean the answer is. The equal sign means the same as. So whatever this unknown number is will be the same as 10 minus 4. So how do I find 10 minus 4? Well, I can start with my 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I'm starting with my 10 and I'm taking away 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. What do I have left? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 10 minus 4 equals 6. 6 is my unknown number. When you add 6 to the number 4, you're going to equal 10. Now I'm looking at my cards right now and I don't see a number 6. But should I just give up and quit and say, oh well, couldn't make that number work, so let's move on? No, I don't want to do that. I want to be a good mathematician and think about what I know about numbers and their relationship. I might not have a card that has the value of 6 on it, but I see 2 cards, actually I see 4 cards that when I add them together, they will make the value of 6. Can you figure out what 4 cards will equal, when added together, might equal 6? Now let me clarify, it's not all 4 cards added together. There's going to be a pair, which is 2. 2 cards added together will equal 6, and 2 other cards added together are going to equal 6. I'm going to give you a few more seconds to kind of look, and then I'm going to share my thinking with you. All right, take about 5 more seconds. All right. Do you think you know at least one of the pairs of numbers that when you add them together might make 6? Well, I kind of gave you a little bit of a clue. You're adding together 2 numbers to equal 6. So right away, my brain thought, okay, well, 7 and 9, anything added to 7 is going to be larger than 7, and 6 is less than 7. So that number cannot be one of my 4. And then I thought the same thing about 9, right? Anything added to 9 is going to make that number larger than 9 or greater than 9. So because 9 is a greater number or a greater value than 6, this card cannot be one of my choices of my 2 adding together. So I'm left with 1, 2, 4, and 5. So here's my 6, okay? Right away, I think to myself, well, 1. If I took 1 away from 6, I'm left with 5. So I know that 1, if I even use my pen over here, 1 and 5, when combined or added together, they're going to equal 6. And I might even throw my addition symbol in there just so we can see that 5 plus 1 is giving us 6. And then I'm left with 2 and 4. So I might, out of my 6, I might take 2 out, 2. And then do I have 4 left over? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes, I do. So 4 and 2. 4 plus 2 make 6. Okay. So did you have any of the pairs? Did you think of 5 plus 1 or 4 plus 2? Awesome job. All right, boys and girls, well, this was a fantastic math lesson. I am so proud of you for building upon your skills of addition and subtraction, not only just by finding different combinations of numbers to make 10, but really starting to understand the relationships between numbers, right? Recognizing that you might have a missing number in your equation, but recognizing that numbers are related to one another, and you can use subtraction to help you find your missing unknown number, that you're really starting to think about. You're thinking a little bit deeper about the skills of mathematics and the operations of addition and subtraction. And it's not just about solving equations to find answers, but you're really starting to show me and show yourself that you're understanding the concept of math and the concept of what it means to add and what it means to subtract, and how we can find related numbers, or we can find relationships within numbers. And we're really starting to strengthen and build our number sense. So awesome job, boys and girls. Continue to play your flip over 7. Challenge yourself to see if you can come up with different ways to make 10. Maybe have a card flipped over, or get a little piece of paper and draw a question mark, and practice building some of those unknown add-in equations, right? And solve for the unknown number, okay? Right, you can always solve for that unknown number, and then really start to become fluent in being able to solve for this unknown number by subtracting from our whole number. All right, well, I had an awesome time with you today, and I look forward to seeing you again tomorrow. Have a great afternoon. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.